now. And we wanted to just take some time to talk about inspiration, because in the way that Martin Luther King inspired many of us, inspired me, we also have the opportunity as village builders and as community organizers to be inspiring, inspire each other. So we're going to play with that a little bit today. All right, we're going to kick off with a nice little grounding. So I'm going to pass it over to Bridget first, who's going to lead us in a wonderful grounding with a poem that she has written. Thanks so much, Bridget.
All right, let me go find it on my phone. I can't see everybody because I can't really figure out Zoom on my phone, so bear with me. This is a poem that was inspired by time I've spent in Scotland. So you'll hear that in this poem. Let me go find it. So just take a moment to feel yourself present and grounded wherever you are, and take a couple of breaths to complete that grounding. So this poem is called Stone Walls. All around me, stone walls pattern the landscape. They border the narrow, winding roads that once were cart tracks, or before that, simple footpaths. They stitch the edges of the fields that patchwork the hills, creating spaces for farming, for enfolding animals. Lichens cluster on every surface with their soft grays and greens and tenacious aliveness. Tiny plants root into crevices. Wildflowers blossom along the base where wall. Small creatures of every kind live in holes between the stones. These walls are old, testaments to human skill and perseverance. And the broad base, the perfectly each unique season finds its home. It rests on and is held by its neighbors. The longer they last and the stronger they are. Perhaps by following the wisdom of these walls and with the same human skill and perseverance, we may still fit ourselves together, knowing each one of us has a place and is needed, no matter our shape or size or color or origin. We may still learn to hold each other safe and strong, forming networks that embrace and shelter and endure. We may still create spaces that provide protection and habitat for other species to thrive. We may still build a lasting foundation for a possible future.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Bridget.
You're very welcome.
I love the imagery of us all as stones in this great stone wall and the spaces between us and all that we nourish together. So I appreciate that. I'm sharing that. Oh, I see that we're over the sharing limit so I'll share this poem in the chat in 2 messages. There we go. If you want to read along.
And if people are very welcome to share this poem, please always share it with my name and the copyright date of 2025. I would appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Bridget. And Bridget is an inspiration to me. She is a village builder in a very real sense. When I met her, she was organizing her block, bringing people together, very much embodying what we wish to embody here at the VillageCore, and really finding ways to bring our neighbors together. So thank you for that, Bridget, that inspiration. So the format today is going to be just a round. We're all going to share a little bit of inspiration. We're going to go in order of the email that was sent out today for our first guests. and then we'll open it up after that. So if anyone else would like to share something, it could be a poem, it could be some thoughts on Martin Luther King, it could be how inspiration shows up for you, who inspires you, or how you are inspiring others. We welcome all of that. So I'm going to introduce a new friend to all of you, Sakina. Sakina is a friend here in Boise who is a Rotarian, if you're familiar with the Rotary clubs. She and I have been organizing a join fair that's happening on March 15th, and we're very excited about that. And in doing that, we've been talking a lot about why we do local community and what inspires us, why this is important. So I'm excited to invite her to share a few words on why she is involved with Rotary and with our Join or Die Fair. So I'll turn it over to you, Sakina. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Hi, everyone. So nice to meet you. Thank you for all you do for our communities. Thank you for this time for me to share some thoughts. So, as Jason mentioned, Sakina Lesmeister, I am a big advocate for community engagement and community involvement here in Boise. I am in Rotary. By raise of hand, who's all familiar with Rotary? Anybody? Yep. Anybody in Rotary here? No. Okay. So through Rotary, I do a lot of outreach as a membership chair and talk about the benefits of being involved in community in general. I personally have experienced so many benefits, have received so much benefits from being involved in organizations. So Jason mentioned Join Fair. Jason and I actually connected through watching a film in our community with other community members called Join or Die. If you've had the opportunity to watch that, it's a brilliant film. If you have not, I would highly recommend it. It does get you inspired and makes you see the value of community engagement. And that's what we're doing next is we're going to do a community watch of this film, and then we're going to provide an opportunity for our community to meet other organizations so that they can partake. And a huge benefit to joining organizations, there's so many benefits to joining organizations and being part of a community like this, as you know. But Jason and I were last week talking about the health benefits. I recently listened to a podcast with the Surgeon General, and he was talking about how the third leading cause of cancer, it has to do with alcohol and alcohol consumption, and the root cause he is figuring out has to do with loneliness and not finding fulfillment in our day-to-day life. And so he's been doing a lot of talk around that. And there's actually there's you'll see in the Join or Die movie, there's conversations with Vivek, Surgeon General Vivek. And so he'll talk about how in order for someone to have a fulfilling life, they need to have relationships, and how best to get relationships than through this kind of a connection and opportunity to come together, a village that you can form, a community that you can be around, right? So relationship is a core factor. Another one is purpose. If you do not have purpose in your life, or you don't have a core group where you have a purpose to do good in the world and things like that, that could be an unfulfilling life. And then the third is service. So service is a big factor, right? So within Rotary, we have this motto of service above self. It's this idea of, in a society today where it's all about me, let's change that view and talk about us and how do we work together in a community and work for each other, with each other. So if somebody is in need of help, how do we come together? Together in numbers we can do more, right? So how do we come together to serve and help each other? And I just love that. I thought that was a really great way to talk about like what the why. Jason's, this idea of why do we do what we do, and bringing these groups together, helping to build communities, because it does help people with both mental health, physical health, having a stronger democracy where there's less polarization, right? So when we bring people that come to our organization, for example, in Rotary, they might interact with somebody that they may have never sat across the table with, right? I meet a lot of people. I was born in Afghanistan. I'm Afghani. They've never met anybody from Afghanistan. We have incredible dialogue and they ask me all these questions, or, and same thing. I'll meet somebody that has that I would have never otherwise met. But in this organization, we have an opportunity, we have something in common, and we can grow and have that ripple effect and help others in the community and understand each other. So, a lot of different things. Those are some of my whys. I always talk about the benefits from just belonging. Everybody needs this sense of belonging today in a world where, in that interview, he talked about and we have a loneliness epidemic, right? So there's a need for us to get away from our cell phones and technology, come to things like this, even if it's virtual. It's funny. Jason's like, this is the first time we've met in virtually, but we try very hard to connect in person. That is really needed, right, in today's world. So anytime we can have opportunities where we can help our communities come together, connect, hear beautiful poems like what we just heard from Bridget. Bridget, that kind of stuff will just be so much more fulfilling, enriching. It can help with de-stressing people, all of those things. So yeah, those are the reasons why we're putting together this Join Fair, so that we can help other people find community and therefore hopefully not have to resort to things like drugs or alcohol or any other coping mechanism if they need community and relationship and help with purpose and things like that. So that was a lot of information. Any questions or thoughts or anything else you want to talk about, Jason or
That was,
team?
that was wonderful, Sakina. If anybody has a question or something, feel free to jump in. I love what you're sharing and talking about the health, and we'll get into that a little bit more, but the connection being an important aspect of our health.
Yeah, Bridget's poem said, I wrote it down, each one has a place and is needed. And that's kind of what we need to do, is how can we help other people find their place in organizations like this one or other ones, and kind of help with that, whether it's a mental health that we can solve, or a physical health, or anything like that. So what a wonderful group. Thank you all for your time, and feel free to reach out if I'm on LinkedIn or anything like that you need to connect me with. Appreciate you all. Thanks for all the good you do.
Thank you, Sakina. Appreciate you. Yeah, Roger. Do you
Yeah,
have
I
a
have
question?
one question, and that is, since you're in the Rotary Club, and I know that Rotary clubs are nationwide, do you get a sense that there's that same kind of approach that you have in some of the other clubs around the country? Is this part of their program right now? Is this something that's, it's kind of almost universal within the clubs, or are they is it more sporadic?
Um, yeah, so one thing that we are noticing, like most organization, is we're seeing a decline in people taking the time to join organizations like this. So there's certainly a emphasis in sharing all of the good that we're doing, the why behind you should join. Rotary is an international organization, so it's been around hundreds of, over 100 years, all over the world, and we've seen a decline in membership. So there is this opportunity for us to get, especially younger members. We have a lot of older members, but the younger members, we've got challenges with, instead of them, joining an organization, they're on Netflix or social media and things like that. And so we're trying to get out there in the community more to encourage some of the younger folks to join, and really highlighting the idea of service and purpose, and have this fulfillment that is needed, that's met through connections, real genuine connections, not followers, right? Not like I have thousands of followers, but it's one friend will be more beneficial to a person's health than 1,000 followers. So that kind of stuff. Yes, there is an encouragement to do that within Rotary.
Uh,
Yes.
Hi, are there specific service projects that you and your Rotary are doing right now?
Yeah, so we have in Rotary, we do 7 areas of focus. So, and that's a big one that's kind of pivoted over time. So we're looking for if younger if the today's big hot topic is the environment, we want people to be able to join and work on the environment thing. So environment is one of the factors. There's other pillars, right? Rotary's been known for helping with fighting polio through the polio efforts. Those are some big rock things, but within the community, we do a lot of different service projects. And that's the beauty of Rotary. Within your club, you can come in and be passionate about something. So is that Stefan, right? Stefan, if you're really passionate about whatever you're passionate about, you could bring that within your club. And now you have a team of people who will help move that service project forward. So while we have 7 areas of focus, economic development being one, environment, health, those things, we do encourage members to bring in their things that they're passionate about. And then you've got the support of the Rotary. So for example, Join or Die, our fair that we're doing, this is, Jason and I's effort. I took that to Rotary and asked for their support and funding and those kind of things. And they're helping us through that initiative. Does that help answer your question? Yep.
Awesome. Best way to get involved with Rotary is to find somebody locally, and they will invite you to a club. It's very easy. They're
Yeah.
very open and very welcoming, and it's worth coming to a club to see how they run their gatherings and participate. Thank you so much, Sakina. Appreciate you being here and sharing and helping us learn. And a reminder that there's always good things going on. They tend to be quiet, but they're always happening. So I'm going to pass it over to Bill next. I really appreciate having Bill in my life and part of our Village Seattle, and has a I think I wrote in the email about being a teacher and a principal, which is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what Bill has been doing in his life. But I thought I'd turn it over. Thanks for being here, Bill, and thanks for kind of impromptu on the spot, kind of responding to this theme of inspiration in Martin Luther King. What would you like to share?
Well, thank you for the invitation. I said to Jason, I'm not sure how inspirational I'm feeling right now. For a lot of people in this country, this is a very tough day, and this is one that I'm feeling deep in my core. It's a rough day. Um, when I don't know where to look, I look at the roots of things. So I went to the root of the word inspiration. So I'm going to get a little nerdy for a second, and then I'm going to talk about Dr. King. So the word inspire, inspiration, it comes from the Latin inspirare. Inspire entered the English vocabulary in the 14th century, but the root is the same root as spirit. Inspirare means to breathe into. And so when we're inspiring somebody, we're breathing something into them. The root is, it was a religious idea, this notion that you're breathing the divine into something. You're breathing something powerful into something. You're animating somebody or something. And that's what inspiration is. In Christian theology, if you're familiar with the idea of the Holy Spirit, it's that aspect of God that seems to fill people with motivation, with energy, with wisdom, whatever it is. But it's this beautiful vision of something being breathed into us to sustain us, to nurture us, and to help us move forward. How do we breathe life into ourselves, into others, into the world? I think a lot of people stop at optimism. It's like inspiration. I just have to be optimistic. I just have to keep my head up. I have to, stiff upper lip. I just have to keep going. It's like, well, it's not that easy, right? Because optimism is really never enough. To truly inspire somebody, you have to have a vision. You have to offer a vision, a destination. You have to offer a point of view that both recognizes where we are and opens a new door, or helps us see a path in a new direction. That vision grows from, I think, a really important question that I would guess everybody in this conversation has asked themselves. What's the world that you want to live in? Um, and how is it different from the world that we know? So, Dr. Martin Luther King is one of those people who embodied his vision. You could say he was inspired, he was filled with this vision, and who he was revealed both the truth of the world that he lived in and that vision that he was offering, a vision for a just and equitable and peaceful world. Um, and so at one level, I feel like Dr. King has always been an example to me of like, it's not enough, words aren't enough. My whole person, my whole body has to tell you what I'm believing and what I want, where I want us to go, and what do I want to eke out of this experience. Um, but his vision, Dr. King's vision, was threatening. It threatened the status quo. It threatened power structures. And as a result, since his assassination, power holders who were really afraid of the vision that he projected have worked really hard to reduce his legacy to like a message of like, can't we all just get along? But his vision was much more radical. It was much more challenging. He challenged norms around race and ethnic divides, but he also challenged the military industrial complex. He challenged violence in our everyday lives. He challenged economic structures that subjugated the poor and the working class. These are all part of his vision that sometimes get left off of the inspirational quotes that end up on posters. Um, my favorite MLK speech is an address that he gave to a group of middle schoolers. And last week in my newsletter, what Jason referred to, I reflected on this again because this is a speech that I come back to frequently for inspiration for my own life, at different aspects in my career, different experiences that I've had. And this is one I've been coming back to the last couple of weeks too. So the speech that he gave to a middle school in Philadelphia about 6 months before he was killed, and it's more than a cheery vision of a happy future, and it's a challenge to every child in the room and every adult in the room, and I think to all of us who are able to hear it, it's a challenge to transform ourselves, to not just focus on like what's happening outside of us, but to change the world around us, we have to change ourselves. We have to take ourselves seriously to be able to create a world that is just and equitable and peaceful. Um, I'm going to drop in the chat. That's a link to this full speech. It's about 20 minutes, and it is wonderful. It is wonderful to watch. I would invite everybody to listen to it and watch it later in the day. He begins the speech by asking this group of middle schoolers, what's your life's blueprint? I love that alone because as a former middle school principal, I see how people look down to kids and they think, oh, they can't handle big ideas. They can't handle nuance. He asked such a powerful question that I think 90% of adults aren't prepared to answer, but he knew that this group of middle schoolers could take this and run with it. So he asked, what is in your life's blueprint? And he offers three things that should be in everybody's blueprint. And this is specifically to that group of kids there, but I think we can extract things that apply to each of us in our lives today. And anybody who is feeling any sort of suffering or loneliness or marginalization in any way, I think this is a powerful message to be able to absorb for ourselves and to be able to offer to people who are stuck in those ruts. So the first thing he says that should be in our life's blueprint is a deep belief in your own dignity, worth, and I love this word, somebodyness. Every one of us is not just nobody. Every one of us is somebody, and we have to believe that. I have to believe that for myself as a foundation for the structure that I'm building of my person. So that's number one. He said, don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth, and always feel that your life has ultimate significance. This speaks directly to me as a gay man, but it also, I'm mindful of people in the world right now who are targeted from lots of different directions. I'm mindful of trans people who are under so much pressure and are, as of today, in very serious danger and vulnerability in different parts of this country, never mind the rest of the world. And I think this is a message that I want everybody to be able to absorb. Like, you are somebody, your life is worthy and has meaning. Like, how do we, like Dr. King, tell each other you count, your life is significant, and you are somebody. Um, and to tie that to the village, I think that's one of the things that the spaces that we create with the village, that's a space for us to be able to turn to each other and remind each other each of our lives counts, each of our lives are worthy, and we want to see it, we want to uphold it, we want to nurture it. The second thing that he said in his speech that needs to be part of the life's blueprint is determined to achieve excellence in whatever work, whatever field, whatever task that you're doing. It's very powerful in this. He cites a litany of Black excellence. He's speaking to this group of Black middle schoolers, and he cites a litany of people over the course of a couple hundred years um, who demonstrated excellence. And he said that, what did he say? He said, all of them came to tell us that we can be somebody. So that our excellence isn't an exercise in ego. It's a demonstration that every one of us can be excellent. Every one of us can thrive. Every one of us can succeed. And that's a way to directly impact whatever the work we're doing. That's a way that we impact our world. No work is meaningless. No task is meaningless because it always has a potential for impact. The third thing he says in the speech, he says your life's blueprint needs a commitment to the eternal principles. He calls them the eternal principles of beauty, love, and justice. I love this part because he ends the speech. He starts to kind of like pick it up on a high, up to a high note. He's trying to build and build and build, and he's mindful in the '60s. The "burn baby burn" was the big slogan of the time, and he said instead of "burn baby burn," organize baby organize. He said learn baby learn so we can earn baby earn. And that was such a powerful message to this group of middle schoolers to say you need to stay in school so that you can learn, so that you can build the skills that you need to thrive and succeed, and so you can change the structures around you, you can change the world around you. And you can succeed, and earning is one way to demonstrate the equity in society. So all of, yeah. There's a hard part of this one in this part of the speech for me, because part of his message of that commitment to eternal principles of beauty, love, and justice, he said, quote, "Don't allow anybody to pull you so low as to make you hate them." And that is one of those messages that any of us who has experienced any sort of hatred, any sort of subjugation, any sort of marginalization, I think we can know how easy it is to hate somebody for their actions. And the challenging message that he said, once I hate them, they've won. They've already gotten under my skin. They've gotten into my head. And that's a powerful message in terms of that recognizing, I can't hate you for what you're doing. I can see the context of where you're acting from. I can work really hard. I don't have to like you, but I do have to love you to be able to move forward. I think that's an incredibly powerful and difficult message. It's a hard one today, especially, but I think also the villages that we create, the spaces that we can cultivate, that's a space where we can let each other know and love each other and practice getting along with people that maybe have a different perspective, have a different vantage point on society. We can learn from each other. But it's an antidote against hating each other. He ends the speech with a really powerful conclusion, and this is the part that made it to all the posters and all the the clips, all the inspirational stuff. But he does end on an incredibly powerful note. Whatever challenges are ahead, he says to these kids, the advice for all of us, and I think this is true for the village too: if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep going. And that, I don't think I can say anything else. So I'm incredibly grateful to Dr. King for these words, and I'm so glad that it's been preserved. I hope you get to watch the full speech, just sitting with it, and imagine yourself in that room, in that auditorium filled with a bunch of middle schoolers who get to hear Dr. King give one of these most amazing speeches. But it's also one that I think it has really gotten lost as people try to create the kind of rosy image and the positive messaging. He gives not just the positive vision, he gives us a vision, he gives us a way to pursue that vision, and he gives us the reasons to pursue it. And so I think that's That is great inspiration. And that is what has been breathing life into me the last couple days and breathing motivation into me to keep moving forward. Thank you.
Ooh, thank you, Bill. That was wonderful. Appreciate kind of reliving that speech through you and those important messages. It's very moving to be talking about our self-worth, you know, that we all have value, and that's a place that we're always nurturing and regenerating, because from that so much is possible. We can crawl, we can run, and we can fly. So I love that. Okay, so I'm going to share quickly about Casey. So I invited Casey, and she wasn't able to attend, but we've been in touch. Casey Killam is an author of the book, The Art and Science of Connection. I love it. What I was hoping she would share about is her idea of social health being distinguished from mental health and physical health. And she paints a very powerful picture that's very inspiring, true to the definition Bill provided us. But we have places for our physical health. We have gyms we can go to. We have practices like running outside. We have things we can do to improve our physical health. We're developing now stronger places for our mental health as well. Finally, therapy has been normalized and something that we accept among in society, and we can talk about when we're struggling with mental health. We have employers who are actually supportive of taking mental health days, so we have places and space to work on mental health now. So social health is the next big, great challenge that we need to face, and she says we cannot address social health problems with mental health solutions. They're different things. And her vision is we need a place to go to work out like we work out our bodies. We need a place to engage with our ideas and engage with others like we do when we're in therapy. But the reason is totally different. It's for building our social health. So she talks about like social health clubs where we can go to. And I'm thinking like, that's Village. Like, that's our vision, is making a place, a social gym. Yes. Making a place for people to just show up locally where they can connect with others and practice connection, practice being together. It's not easy. It's not like it's all dreamy and great. So she says, please pass on my gratitude and encouragement to the village builders. Local community building is one of the most important ways to improve people's lives and our society, one interaction at a time. So thanks to Casey, and check out that Kaisley, and check out that book if you haven't. Okay, next up we have Christine, our fearless leader, to talk a little bit about inspiration from her perspective. So thanks so much, Christine.
Thanks, Jason. I was so inspired by everybody. I forgot what I was going to talk about. Well, when Jason brought up the theme of inspiration for this Monday, I was just getting off a session with another cohort called the Greater Sum, and it's an organization that supports startup nonprofits. And so I got to learn about all the nonprofits others are starting around the world, and a lot of it are people interested in building community, creating other ways to reinvent the system. And one guy was actually his mission is to create affordable insulin, so it's more could reach broader audience that need it. And what came up for me was that it isn't when we think about creation, we often lean on innovation or something new, something different. But I realized that like one way we can innovate is really to see things anew, see that what we really need is already there, that we have it, like connection and talking to each other. It's probably the oldest technology, and it's often easy to, especially with this current year, to be succumbed by the large narratives of people trying to take power, take authority over what we might be thinking or what we should be doing with this, and trying to lead us to a certain road or path, and we often don't see the amazing things that are already going on every day, with groups like Village. And there's so many groups right now that are popping up that are very grassroots and local connection. That's where the innovation happens, and it doesn't have to be something new or different. It's just something that we just that naturally comes to us. We are social creatures, and so it's so for me, inspiration is just being inspired by what's already there, what's something we can do, every day, which is just, talking to friends, talking to, someone you pass by on the street, to, your local cafe barista. And yeah, it's something that's just there that we can always just into. Um, so that was what I was going to share. And it's, yeah, just seeing things anew, and knowing that we're always co-creating, creating the world together. And it's really in how we perceive ourselves and each other. And yeah, leaning on that connection with each other. That's mine. Thank you.
Love that. Thank you, Christine. Love that language that you've brought into Village too, about practice, a place of practice. And so what we're doing in Village, we bring out into our communities, and that's the invitation to be villagers to those around us. Appreciate that. Okay, so let's keep the sharing going. I'd love to complete the circle, and so I'll invite everybody to say some words, and I'll turn it to you, Stephen Silha, next, if that feels all right, and then you can popcorn it from there.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. I've been on this speaker mode, so I need to be able to see everybody. Um, I really appreciate Bill's talking about Dr. King. I just listened to the I Have a Dream speech again, and I hadn't heard it for a while, but that was the speech he gave in Washington, D.C. at the big March on Washington. And I was inspired by the fact that he quoted all these other inspiring people. Like, he starts it out by quoting Abraham Lincoln, um, who talked about the new birth of freedom, in his Gettysburg Address. He quotes the Bible a lot. He quotes the Declaration of Independence. And so not only was he inspiring as a speaker, but he was inspired by obviously being there with all those thousands of people. And he also, I've been passing around a quote that a friend sent to me this morning from Martin Luther King. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So in thinking about my own village building and my vision of doing a village here at the condominium where I live, I got together with a woman who's on the social committee, and she put out a little note to the social committee with the one pager that VillageCore has created about Village. And basically the response was people didn't seem on the social committee like we're already doing too much, we're already overextended. So she came back to me and she said, let's just do this. Let's invite our friends. Look, let's put out the word other ways and see what happens. And to me, that feels good because we're going outside the existing structure in a way and offering something new. So that's kind of my excitement. And I will pass it on to Stefan.
Hey, thanks, Stephen. Yeah, it's very interesting today. I felt probably the most uninspired that I've been in a while. Just kind of felt like I've been drifting through the day. But one thing that I was thinking about when I've heard all of you guys talk about inspiration is how really the onus is kind of on yourself to lift yourself out of it. And there's so many things that you can draw inspiration from, and it is not something that is just going to be happening to you. it's a mindset that you have to go out there and reach for the stars and act with excellence in everything you do. And I really look forward to a time when I have a consistent passion in my life that I'm working towards, and trying to find that when you're surrounded by so many distractions and have a lack of discipline in your day-to-day life makes it so that it seems like it's one step forward and then two steps back. But I really do think that building this sort of community and having connections outside of just uh, your own brain is kind of how you're going to overcome the obstacles set in front of you. And this community right here, as difficult as it can be sometimes to sit down and focus for an hour, just building the connections of smiling at each other over Zoom really does brighten my day. And I look forward to getting inspiration from all the words you all have to say. And I'm very grateful for it all. So I'll pass it on to Roger.
Before you go, Roger, Mike, Stefan, will you just give a quick update on Village NYC?
Yes, Village NYC is going pretty well, to be honest. Uh, I have been able to secure a physical location at this place called Impact Hub, and we're going to be having a meeting sometime in late January, preferably the 31st, about 5:30 p.m. I'm also going to be hosting Village Nomad the day before, so if any of you guys want to show up to that, it'll be a great experience for me. And yeah, what we're trying to do at this point is kind of onboard some of the members that we have already onto this online platform that Jason's built out for us. And we're also going to be having an event about your favorite book. And just pretty much, I have a big list now of all these people who are interested in kind of joining a book swap, book club thing. So in February, we're going to be hosting that event. And yeah, this is sort of the first time now that we're kind of public facing and are moving on from just the original cohort of the friends I've created and going out there to the larger market. So I'm really interested to see what we can do to build up the structure and if people will be engaged to come back. Because I've heard so much that that's the thing right there is not just getting them for the first time, but having them continue to come. So we'll see. And I will be here to update all of you guys. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about how a personal approach is really important. Sometimes we get caught up in the macro. Sometimes we see the world in this broad sweep, that where we lose the individuals, where we don't see them and see their suffering or joy or whatever they're going through. And I think that it's so hard for so many of us to have that appreciation because of the orientation. You watch the news and you listen to people and you just get this impression that that you're part of this big wave that where you're just getting kind of lost and thrown around and you didn't really have much impact. But I think it's when you actually reach out to people and you spend time with them. I think that's one of the great benefits of the one-on-one, which I've been trying to do in some of the different groups that I've been with and trying to encourage other people to do. Um, because you get a chance to really get to know someone and it isn't abstract anymore. It's an actual experience. And I think that's what we need. We need to recognize that each of us has a value and each of us has something to contribute and each of us needs love. I think there's a huge love deficit, in this society. I think there's a lack. And it's not anyone's particular fault, I should say. I think it's just something that's kind of evolved, with the way that we live. And I think we have to get back to that. And Stephen, when you mentioned love, Dr. King saying that, I think that's really the fundamental key for me. That's the transformative element that I think that sometimes it's really hard to put into effect because um, sometimes we're just out of practice. Sometimes we don't feel the love back. And sometimes we have to practice unconditional love that isn't expecting a return, but rather is just recognizing that love, universal love, but particular love, focused love, for even the most difficult to love, or that's the thing that's going to transform the world. And I think that was a fundamental element of Dr. King's message for me. And that's the thing we should all try to take away from it, at least that, so that we learn to forgive, we learn to embrace, we learn to lift up those around us. And I think it can be it can be something that spreads, once we make that commitment to do that. So that's my word for the day, love. And it's actually, I try to make it my word for every day if I can. So I'm going to pass this on to Beverly.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Well, I've gotten the earful. And all of it is good and inspiring. I love I love everybody's lens in terms of like being in bringing forth their relationship to inspiration. The first thing I heard this morning from a friend was a quote from Martin Luther King that said, "We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope." And I mean, for me, what do we do without hope? We get up every day. We want to believe in something. The other piece that I thought was a good reminder and is what Bill shared about Martin Luther King, or just giving the root of inspiration. Like we don't really explore the meaning of words, right? And language is so powerful. And I just thought, wow. When we inspire someone, we're breathing spirit into them, or we're giving them the spirit that they're longing for when we are inspiring them. And I often find that so many of us want to be inspired. We have a longing to experience ourselves in a greater context. We lost sight of the greater universe that supports us, that contains us, that understands us. And I think when I'm present with someone, it doesn't even matter what the conversation is. The presence itself opens the space to be inspired by each other, right? And so a lot of this conversation is reminding me how simple it is to just be curious about a person, and being the curiosity in itself is the connector of what you share humanly. I also love that poem. What a powerful poem that was. And I think one of the things I marked about that poem is knowing each one of us has a place and is needed. When I think about that, that's what I'm trying to understand about my own life, the value of my not forgetting that I have a place and I'm needed, but also each person I meet, how do I help them, or how do I connect with them in such a way that opens them up to that possibility, that they really have a worthwhile life, or well, at least that their life is of worth. So these are profound things for a half an hour, 45-minute discussion. Very philosophical, but I'm full of gratitude. So thank you all. And I will call on B.
Thank you very much. Okay. I've always been inspired by Martin Luther King's quote, like, I have a dream. And this expression helped me become the best student of the generation, because from the very first day that I got accepted at the university, I had a dream to like be the best student and start working there. And this dream also helped me work with people from US, Europe, and all around the world. But what I also figure out with time is that nothing of this is important if I don't have people that I love, people that I can share with everything that I am and I became. It's like it helps me the energy to share with my friends, family, relatives, co-workers, because this is how I get motivation, and this is how I spread and share love. And I'm very thankful for all of this. I'm also staying here tonight. It's my husband's birthday, so I have only 7 more minutes to prepare a surprise for him. So I wanted just to share this, that the love and people that I love the most are those that help me stay late at night, gain energy from all of you, and share it with my family, relatives, and friends. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. And now I will pass it to who's left, Sakina or Luisel?
Yeah, I'll go. I'm sort of just in the middle of cooking, but I'll go somewhere quiet. Thank you all for everything you shared. And I love this theme of inspiration because I've been trying to sort of post more often on my LinkedIn, and I'm trying this new thing where I basically schedule posts for every day. And for some reason, everything that I wrote today to be scheduled to come out every day was centered around what I'm inspired by. So that's interesting how this theme keeps coming up, and it's sort of, you know, like spreading positivity or positive energy and bringing people into the conversation, um, and really inspiring inspiration from other people. So it's a little bit meta in that way. So that's something that have come up while listening to the conversations, but also, yeah, I'm just kind of reflecting on what people have said about what inspires them. So whether it's love or connecting with others or curiosity, or a person like Martin Luther King and his words, poems like poetry, art. So all these things, I feel like it all comes down to what gives you energy. And actually, one of the posts that I wanted to write was, how do I find infinite energy? And I think it is that finding my personal blueprint, like Martin Luther King said. I still have to watch the video, but I have a feeling that it's definitely right up my alley and it'll have some answers for me. But basically, once you know what your personal mission is, then that is what's going to drive everything that you do. Um, that's going to be the thing that will, yeah, light that fire under you all the time, like your reason to wake up, or a reason to connect with people, or that source of energy of your art, right? So I am getting very close to it. I can feel it, and it's not even just about like my job, or I'm going to get something that I'm going to get paid, like I'm going to
get hired by a company and I'm going to be paid for it. It's like it's beyond that. And I think as soon as I find that mission, everything else will fall into place. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's a lot that's been said, and I was I was struggling with what I could add to that, but you know, I'm adding sort of my own personal experience to it. But yes, thank you so much for to everyone who added to this conversation. I'm really looking forward to yeah, implementing some of these lessons that I've learned. And I think the last one is Sakina.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to be part of this community. I'm super inspired and I'm so grateful for this hour to have met you all. And thank you, Jason, for the invitation. I think it inspires me to continue to help others find this kind of community. I mean, just the uplifting feelings that we felt this hour. There's so many people out there in the world that can use this and benefit from this. Um, Help feel more connected in this world. So thank you for this time, and I appreciate it. I'll pass it back to Jason.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. As we're coming to an end here, I just want to express my gratitude for each of you, for being here, for sharing. You are my inspiration. So thank you for inspiring me today. It means a lot to me. So a couple of quick announcements. Beverly, do you have something to add really quick?
I was just going to remind you to take a photo.
Oh, I was thinking about that right as Bridget was leaving. I was like, oh, dang it. Loizo, are you able to come on for a quick photo? So this will be an inspirational photo. So what's an inspirational pose? Does anyone have ideas for an inspirational pose? Like that, maybe?
Loiselle is cooking. Why don't we cook up something?
Okay, so we'll have our inspirational group photo here on 3. So count of 3, inspirational pose, whatever that looks like for you. On 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, cool. We got it. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for the reminder, Beverly. Two other quick reminders. Stefan mentioned Village Nomad. Let's support Stefan in hosting a village gathering. That's going to be Thursday, November 30th at 3 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Is that right?
November.
January.
Did I say November? I don't even know where November.
He's a time traveler, that's Stefan.
Wow, good planning.
Yeah. Okay. So January 30th.
Yes.
So we'll send an email about that later this week, the official invitation. So if you can please come to Village Nomad. Stefan's also inviting a few folks that he's been connecting with associated with Village NYC. So it's a chance to connect with those folks too. And then the second last announcement, you might have seen the emails. Christine and I are leading our fundraising campaign for VillageCore. We are raising most of the funds that we're going to need to operate for the entire year. And we've had a huge response. 67% of our goal has been achieved. We have a couple more weeks to go. So if you are able to support us with a monthly gift or a one-time gift, either way, all of it really goes to help us. So you go to villageco.org/giving circle. Details are there, and I will also be emailing you about that this week. So thank you all who already have contributed. It's amazing. We're going to raise $28,000. That's going to support us having almost 60 hours a week of volunteers dedicated to this project, which is unbelievable, an unbelievable amount of return on investment, I would say. Okay, any other parting words? All right. Thank you all for the inspiration. Go well into your days. Look forward to seeing you at the next VillageCore. Bye, everyone.